Hello, how are you today? Today, I will be giving a speech about Has COVID Killed the Constitution? In recent years, the damages received from COVID made people wonder if everything would go back to being the same as it once was. Many had lost their jobs to the statewide lockdowns enforced in the beginning of 2020. This mandate this mandated 100% of the workforce besides essential workers to be forced to stay at home until the end of the lockdown. With these new announcements, many felt as if their rights were being suppressed in order to deal with the virus. Many had asked where these governors got the legal authority to close down the economy on such a large scale. During the lockdown and the pandemic, governors and officials walked a fine line crossing state and federal authority. It was during the disputes over the Second Amendment. Reasons state that religious freedom has made it clear that an epidemic is not licensed to ignore constitutional rights. The Constitution sets certain boundaries to which even in emergencies should not be crossed. The American people had their Fifth Amendment right violated in Home Building and Loan v. Bladsdell. This was during the worst of COVID, when governors were signing executive orders turning hotels into housing for temporary essential workers. These hotels served as frontline use for patients after hospitals quickly filled up. American Bar stated in an article that a cogent summary of how emergent situations can cause governments to take actions that may impair personal rights and liberties. It was in Kent v. Dulles that the right to travel under the Fifth Amendment was fought in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of Kent, stating that travel is under Americans' freedom of liberty. This was during the lockdown when states ordering residents not to leave their homes, starting in Kentucky, leading to Maine and Massachusetts. Many jobs were lost, leading to U.S. employment rates to be at a total of 14.7%. Rates this high hadn't been seen since the Great Depression. It was in Toomer v. Wilsell that the Supreme Court assessed that one's livelihood was protected under the 14th Amendment in favor of Toomer. The Supreme Court had this to say: not merely freedom from bodily restraint, but also the right of individual to contact, to engage in any of the common occupants of life, to acquire useful knowledge, to marry, to establish a home, and bring up children. After 2 long years of COVID restrictions, people had finally were able to go back to their everyday lives. Though in these few years, American people cannot forget how their rights have been trampled on in the swift decisions of the state government. Though the Supreme Court, the American people have found their voice that local government would not be able to uphold. Hopefully this pandemic has served as an example that the American people, no matter the situation, should always be allowed their liberty.